Sky Squad, we are back in the building. And your boy is not feeling his best, but we still got some news to talk about. So let's get into the tea. Okay. So, y'all, this is the most random bit of news on a Saturday night. The only thing I was anticipating talking about today was really going to be Braxton family values. And to be honest with you, I had actually decided that I wasn't going to review it, mostly because y'all know I want to support the show. But last night's episode was so triggering for me. And we'll talk about it because I actually want to discuss it. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. We got some tea to discuss first. Let's get into Spice and Erica Mena. But then Tokyo Vanity enters the chat and drops some tea. Now, Spice is answering a question about Erica Mena, and I'll play a bit of it for you guys right now. So take a listen to this.
After that comment she made about you and your skin tone, how do you feel? Like, are you guys still friends? I know it's out of the box. It has nothing
So I also want to acknowledge this is coming from the neighborhood talk, but it's also a clip taken from Live Bites as well.
to do.
No, we're
Just
not
what it
friends. No, we're not friends, and I don't foresee us being friends again because I'm not into people who feel like they're better than black women or better than dark skinned men. I don't foresee myself, ever being friends with her. Even if she should come genuinely and apologize, it's just gonna always be that's her. But I don't see myself being her friend. I just value, my culture, who I am as a person. I know what I stand for, and I believe that black women are beautiful, and we should love ourselves no matter what. My song and my album Mirror, it's there because that's what I represent. I represent black women to its entirety, and I continue to remind our young girls that they are beautiful no matter what. So I'm not fond of someone who feels like they're superior to us or that they are better than any dark skin woman. So I'm not into that at all. I don't stand for that.
friends
So the smart play that Spice did there was she referenced her new album with I think it's what Mirror 25 or I think that's the title of the album. So I'm like, okay, you smart there. That's a professional right there. But Tokyo Vanity sounds like she got a bone to pick with Spice. So she says you think you're better than FATT women when you're one busted undergarment away. Now, what in the busted garment do we have here? What did Jackie say about Dr. Heavenly circa what season 2 reunion when she said, well, she didn't really say it about Dr. Heavenly. She alluded to. See, Jackie was smart about it. She didn't say you look like. She said at least when I take off my clothes, I don't look like a busted can of biscuits. Y'all remember that? But she didn't say you look like that. She just said at least I don't. So she got away with it at the time. But that was a different time as well. I don't know if she get away with it now because you know y'all be on Dr. Jackie. So Spice responds and says, but Tokyo, remember you thought you was better than all of us on Love and Hip Hop. Though that's why they kicked you off the show because of your nasty attitude. Remember, I'm not in the hospital no more, so leave me alone. Let me answer the damn question I was asked. Unfortunately, it was a major thing in my career that I constantly have to ask people not to ask me about now vanish. My album called Mirror 25 is out now. Go listen to some music, or you're not an artist anymore. CSM. I don't know what that means. Y'all know what I mean? Anyway, Tokyo responds at Spice. What show I got kicked off of? The one you followed around for 2 years begging to get on? Or the one where you started sleeping with the cameraman? Not the cameraman. I got to go back and change the thumbnail. I said producer. Lord, it's the cameraman. I mean, let me say this. Ain't nothing wrong with the cameraman, but I would be thinking to myself, if you're trying to get on the show, you probably want to sleep with the producer. I mean, make your mark on the production. Sleep with the producer. I'm gonna put it down, you gonna fall in love. I'm gonna put it down, you gonna fall in love. You know, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm not on it. Y'all don't go sleep with nobody producer, nothing like that. I mean, unless you want to, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, everybody need a little action at some point in time. And you know what that song say? Fake your way to the top, around and around, sleep your way to the top, around and around, round and round. Woo! That tickled me. But anyway, do y'all think that Spice really slept with the cameraman? I would say Spice, you you should be sleeping with the producer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying aim a little higher because the cameraman now they'll get you the right angle. You know that we could say that they're gonna definitely get you. You know, you sleep with the cameraman, you're probably gonna get a good angle, but it's gonna depend on how that edit turn out. You know what I'm saying? But you sleep with the producer, they keep you on the show longer. Maybe. I don't know. Allegedly. Let me put the alleged badge down here because Lord knows I don't need no smoke with international dancehall sensation Spice. All right, y'all. We got more tea to talk about. Yeah. Lots of stuff going on. Y'all know that the Real Housewives of Atlanta is, I'm assuming they filmed, I think this is the finale. It was the Angela Oakley black tie gala event. Um, I am not gonna go too deep into this because we don't really know Angela Oakley yet or what the story is going to be. So let me put a slight spoiler alert up here. I mean, although it's a little late for it now. And remember, everything in this video is alleged. Actually, most of life is alleged. Nothing's real anymore. So there you have it. Actually, I'm AI. Um, so a Twitter or X user, I'm assuming it's Twitter or X. I don't have Elon Musk Twitter X or whatever you want to call it anymore. So I don't know what it is, but it looks like a Twitter post. And Alex is calling out Angela Oakley, basically indicates that she is a raggedy person and that she will be a one and done housewife, and says, you want to say my marriage is fake. Well, how about I talk about what I know about your marriage? So if you read the comment from the Bravo Shade Room, and please make sure you guys are following the Bravo Shade Room for all things, especially Atlanta as it's heating up. It says Alex has some cheating tea on Angela Oakley's husband, Charles Oakley. The producers called him up to shoot 3 scenes, and allegedly things went left from there. Now, if you go to the video, he basically gives you a tour and basically says that alleges that it smelled like somebody was smoking the Joanna in the bathroom, and that the event was given $5,000 budget. You can see some footage from the camera there of some of the ladies at the event. I will go to Bingeworthy's page because Bingeworthy has some really great shots of all the ladies from the event. Um, and then you can read um the Twitter back and forth there about what was allegedly going on here. Again, I don't know that much about Miss Angela Oakley at this point in time. You know, the event from the photos looked really, really nice, but I will let you guys go to the Bravo Shade Room and get more of the tea. I basically gave you the overview. All right. Um, and that's that. The ladies look great. The pictures I've seen, if you go to, like I said, go to Bingeworthy's page, the pictures look amazing. And I would definitely, follow up with Bingeworthy to see more photos, right? If you want to see photos from the event. All right, so let's talk about Braxton family values. Um, This particular episode for me, like I said, was rather triggering. For those of you guys who know, you know, it's difficult because I have relative, well, not really, just I don't want to, it hasn't been recent, I would say. It's just been the past year or so. It has been very difficult for me, having lost one of my best friends so suddenly, right? So I want to pull up this post right here from the neighborhood talk to really illustrate what went down on last night's episode of Braxton Family Values. And I'm going to pull it up here. And again, mind you, I'm not feeling my best. So work with me, y'all. All right. So it says heartbreaking. Trina Braxton shares that she wasn't strong enough to witness her sister's Tracy's last breath, says grief has led to her overeating. Um, this is yet another episode. I'm gonna be for real with y'all. I could not watch without crying and shedding tears. You know, we really dive further into the therapy session with the family on this episode. And I'm gonna talk about three major points here. This episode to me, it's hard to rate it because I feel like I'm rating something that is so sensitive in terms of the episode. So I'm not going to rate this episode just because of the sensitivity of it. But I will say that, Trina talked about not feeling strong enough to witness Tracy's last breath. And for me, and I don't know if any of you have gone through this, I witnessed, them taking one of my best and oldest friends off of life support when she passed suddenly from an aneurysm and a stroke. And they had kept her alive for, about a day or so, as long as they reasonably could see that she was, at what state she was in. And so as Trina talks about, having these visions and, not being able to sleep because, she's having these, there's kind of like voices, and she's seeing that, she's replaying those last moments over and over again. And she talks about how, overeating and overindulging in alcohol has been her way of coping because it makes her feel better and it helps her sort of drown out those last images. And it just hit me. You know what I'm saying? It really hit hard. It really, really, man, like it just brought so much back. And she described so much of what I have been going through these past, 2 years. And you, you would think that it gets better. And I think you just kind of learn to live with the grief. But when you were there in those final moments, it's something that you just don't never forget. And for them, I'm sure it was, 10 times harder because that was also a familial connection. It was family. So then to top that off with whatever family dynamics that they have going on, I think is also very, very difficult to navigate because each of the sisters seems to be dealing with this issue very, very differently. And Towanda talked about, feeling like Trina was too sensitive to really, truly witness that. And ultimately, Trina says that she was right. But it's also brought about, this therapy session has brought about another dynamic that is happening within the family that is, I think, been permeating this family for quite some time. Even if you go back to old episodes of Braxton Family Values. And that is this distance or disconnect with Tamar and the rest of the family. So I want to talk first about something that happens to little Kevin while they're on their Towanda makes sure that the therapist asks, how their father and how little Kevin, who are both on Zoom, are doing and dealing with this. And little Kevin is having a hard time because this is coupled with him being served papers by his wife. On top of that, he gets a knock at the door and or a phone call or something, I don't know if it's anonymous, I don't know what it is, but there's a warning that I'm assuming that there's like a warrant for his arrest or something is happening in the background. And so it sounds like for me, from what I could see, and I don't know if this is really the case, I don't know what was going on. If you watch the different family members' reactions, it is very sort of indicative of what I believe to be the problems within this family from what we could see. Okay. Now, I know it's easy to speak about from an objective viewer's perspective, but they're actually in it. So I am trying to remain a little bit sensitive to it. But from a viewer's perspective, I'm just going to tell you what it looks like. Now, what you see happening in that moment is what it looks like is that Trina and Tracy, not Trina and Trina and Towanda are Towanda takes on almost a mother figure role, it seems. And I don't know if that's from her days of, working as Tony's assistant. I don't know if she was her assistant or manager or something. She was something managing Tony's life. I can't recall the exact title, and maybe it comes from just the age that she is. I'm not really quite sure, but she takes a responsible role in the family, it's or so it seems. And so her main concern is, let me check on little Kevin, let me find out what's what, let me deal with that first. Trina, I cannot ascertain if Tawanda and Trina know specifics, but what I do know is that Trina is unwilling to discuss it with the camera crew and the therapist in the room. And I respected that. Like on some real, like that was some stuff that was like happening in real time. What you see from Tony is confusion. Like from the surface, it seems she doesn't know what's going on. She seems very confused. If she was not confused, she played it off well. Tamar seems to really not know, right? Now, with the way Tawanda is sort of managing the situation, that is her priority. Tony is confused. Tracy, not Tracy, Lord, please forgive me for that. I keep she's just on my mind. But Trina is very much we're gonna protect Kevin in this moment. Tamar's reaction to me seemed a bit more focused on herself. And well, why don't I know what's going on? Everybody else knows what's going on but me. Everybody knows what's going on but me. Which leads me to my next point is that Tamar is very specific in the way that she addresses her boundaries with the family. And in her confessional and in the episode, she makes it very clear that she has boundaries and she does not budge from those boundaries. So, what then happens is when you build a protective wall around yourself, you can't then complain that you don't know what everyone else knows because you have been busy behind your wall. Now, I'm not saying she doesn't have the right to build that wall. What I'm saying is that that's what you have to learn to expect when you build the wall around yourself. If you build these walls prepared to protect yourself from any and everything. So that's good things and that's bad things. So when the therapist then asks how Towanda feels about, Tamar's stance, but or something thereabouts, Tawanda's just like, I'm just kind of numb to it. Basically, Towanda is like, I maneuver around whatever you give me, right? So if you put up a wall, I respect your wall. And that's that. Now, Tamar insists that she calls and texts Towanda, and Towanda only answers during filming. Towanda has a different version of what happens in their relationship. And I think that she's just sort of fallen back into, I'm going to let you do you. And I'm not going to argue and go back and forth with you about it, because I respected the way Towanda was sitting right there, even as Tamar is getting clearly emotional. And I can understand it, because if you have always felt like the odd person out, then you might be defensive. But I think that perhaps after you've built such a wall, you can't also then expect for everybody to acquiesce to providing you with responses, with answers, with rolling out the red carpet for you, if you are not going to let anyone else in. And that is essentially what I gathered from the conversation. And I respected the way that Towanda really dealt with Tamar with logic, and not so much on the emotional side. Now, the emotion then comes out from Miss E, who basically does lay down the law in that, listen, y'all act like y'all are enemies, but that has been the undercurrent of this show and this franchise from the very beginning. I don't know if you guys recall when the Braxton family values first started, they had little nicknames for each of the sisters. And one of those nicknames, and I think it was for Tracy, was the wannabe. Was that it? Y'all recall? Do y'all remember those little names that they would have for them? And I thought even then, I was like, oh, this positioning is very interesting, and it's very telling about the relationships within this family unit. So it's interesting that almost a decade or so later, these same dynamics are still playing out and they have not changed, which leads me to wonder what that experience was like for them growing up. And how did they fall into these positions in the first place? But I do agree with Miss E in this moment that it doesn't matter. Like, y'all, what is so much bigger right now is if something happens to any one of y'all, and we know how life is. Life is crazy. You don't know what can happen. So y'all got to stop existing in this space and figure out a new space to move in, because ultimately I don't understand personally what the beef is. What is the underlying issue that would make, if Tamar was trying to prove a point last week that the internet only wants to see her in strife, why would you use your family as the bait to do that? And what I mean by that is, why would you say that your family, why would you diss your family to prove a point about your need for internet validation? You threw them under the bus to prove a point to who? The media, the blogs, the media outlets? I don't understand. So that's the dynamic that I feel like is troublesome to me. And that is the behavior that I think needs to also stop. But again, I don't know what's happening off camera. All I could tell you is from the surface what I see. again, I love this family. I love this show. So I'm super happy it's back. I think it is an interesting study in family dynamics and sociological impacts on family and reality TV and relationships and how those things can either fall apart or bring people together. But the episode was very very deep for me, and so I was so triggered. I really wasn't going to do much discussion about it, but you know, honestly, when news is popping, I kind of try to just make sure I stay on top of things so that, when I talk about if I discuss Love and Marriage Huntsville tomorrow, I don't want to have to put all of these things together and talk about two shows at once and a lot of news and break down that show as well. So I did want to get into this today. All right, guys. I am in the bed currently filming this, and so I'm gonna lay my head back down. Um, if you guys have not checked out my personal channel, I do talk about, the fact that our data has been breached and what to do about it. So please check out that video. I'll put the link in the description down below. Um, Life is wild, and just make sure you guys are protecting your information and your data, your credit. So with that being said, make sure you guys are following each of the sources that I mentioned in this video, and I should be back on camera tomorrow. If not, I'll still be working. So never fear. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next video.